Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Investor Financing Podcast. Today we're not going to be really talking much about, I'm sure we'll touch on real estate and lending and all that good stuff, but really we're going to dive into, mindset, coaching, and all that stuff behind it. Because I think that coaching and mindset and limiting beliefs, all this stuff is what holds back every entrepreneur. And so I think we're going to dive deep in with our guest today, his story, and then why he formed Emerge Coaching, which is a great name because I have Emerge Lending. So great minds think alike. So we're going to dive in on all things kind of mindset and getting unstuck and moving the needle forward every day. I was reading Jesse's bio, and he kind of talked about it in his bio how a couple of years back he was stuck, and I think that's where he had the revelations, if that's the word to use. But Jesse's based in Salt Lake City. He's the owner and founder of Emerge Coaching Program for entrepreneurs and sales professionals that help them truly unlock higher growth and potential. Welcome to the show, Jesse.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Beau. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Yeah. So let's kind of I don't like to do a whole your backstory, but it looks like I think you had a real estate background, and you solved some problems. You got into lending because you found a solution to help people. And then through all this, you ended up becoming a coach because you were solving a lot of problems for your colleagues. Can you kind of give us a quick, version of your background and then how you got into the coaching space?
Yeah, for sure. So for the last 7 years, I have a real estate company that's still active today. We're one of the top 10 real estate teams in the state of Utah. And then throughout that, we found that there was a lot of first-time home buyers or people in around 2019 that were having trouble getting into homes because of the excessive amount of closing costs. And so we created a lending company where we were able to just go in and get people into homes. And that was a huge addition to our company. It's not very profitable, but it's designed just to help the first-time home buyer and have more equal housing. Fast forward, with running those two businesses and the birth of our second child, I found myself way heavy. I was the fattest I'd ever been. And I found myself in the car with a humongous argument with my wife. Her and I were yelling in front of our two kids. And she looked at me and she said, "Jesse, you've lost your identity. I don't know who you are. You're fat. And all you ever do is work." And, at that moment, it was like, ouch, right? Like a shot to the heart, I guess, as Bon Jovi would put it. But, it literally hit me. And it was monumental, it was impactful. And I found that at that moment, I had been running from a monster, very similar like a scary movie. I'd been running away every single day of my life from the things that I didn't want. And those things would pop up from time to time. And then that was the day that my monster was there, and I had a choice. I either had to continue to run or actually face my fear and start making the changes. And because of that, I started making lots of changes and found and discovered what my true gift is, which is truly helping people understand that they have divine and creator-like potential in their lives.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, I'm a firm believer in getting coaching, and actually just recently I actually hired a coach for the first time. I mean, I've had coaches in sports when I was a child, but I never really had a business and performance coach, and I hired one, and I think we've been together now for 5 months, and it's been a game changer to have a coach. And one of my friends, it was funny, Jesse, one of my friends was like, he's really wants a coach, and he's keeps on digging into me well, what do you guys talk about? I said, it's really, for me, it's not about, do this, 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 and this. I already do this, this, and this, and I'm extremely disciplined. It's more about unpacking limiting beliefs for me. But anyways, I believe that everybody should have a coach, every single person. And whether you're in real estate or some kind of business professional, which is usually who listens or watches this podcast, we all need a coach. Hands down, the Michael Jordans of the world have coaches. There's a reason why. And I'm learning to tap into the real Beau, and kind of it's almost like the journey that you went through. And I think everybody needs to experience this journey because we all get stuck. We all get stuck. Even if sounded like you're extremely successful, right? But you were only extremely successful with your business. You got heavy. And and so you had to like snap out of it. So walk me through like when you kind of had this revelation. What's the process like? What was the process to like get yourself unstuck? Because a lot of it, you know, I've been in the grind for like my whole life, right? Since I was 20, I'm 45 now. I've been in the trenches, and I feel that like it's like we get stuck. We're like we have to be at our desk, we have to be answering the phones, we have to be doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what coaching really helped me do is like to realize that look, I need to like remove myself from being in the trenches to really work on my business to really understand like it's okay for me not to answer my phone during certain times. It's okay to do all this stuff. Walk me through like your journey from like, you know, where you that one that you're in the car and you realize that you're the fattest you ever been. You're pretty much realize that you're unhappy, right? You're only happy
Right.
with your business, but that didn't even make you happy. So what did you do to kind of reverse the situation and move into a positive state?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I invested in a coach myself, and my wife and I decided to do that. And this coach literally started to bend the mind of like all my limiting beliefs and things. And throughout that journey, throughout reading and then jumping into other masterminds and stuff, I started to discover what I truly was. And it was very interesting because the first thing this coach said is, "I want you to write down 100 things if money was not an issue that you would want for yourself." And that right there had the most impact on my life. That was the first thing I was like, oh my gosh. So I start writing things down, and all of a sudden these beliefs come into my mind. And one thing in particular, I wrote down, hey, I want a private island in Mexico. Like that would be awesome. And I was like, I got curious. What does this cost? And so I started like doing this research and found out that with the proper financing, I could actually buy that island right now. But the thought that came to my mind over and over and over was, oh, that would be nice, but you haven't had a vacation in 5 years. What's the point of buying this? And that thought alone, I was like, oh, heck no. Like you mentioned, I am very consistent, very disciplined as well. But I was also like, I'm kind of rebellious too. Like I'm going to go against what other people told me. That's what got me into this whole entrepreneurial journey is everyone said, work a W-2. And when that thought came to my mind, I was like, heck no, I'm not going to listen to that. And so I had this change where I'm like, I've got to hire someone to take this, and this off my plate. And it wasn't even a question. And before I knew it, I like within 6 weeks of making this hire, not only did I go on a vacation for the first time in 5 years, I actually won a freaking vacation. It was almost like the universe was like, here you go. Here's a vacation because you finally have taken the first step to taking care of you. It was amazing.
Isn't it amazing how the world kind of gives you those like when you allow the universe to like it's interesting how you now that like you planted the seed about the vacation and you got a free vacation.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example of something similar that just happened to me. I was just talking about one of my friends that lived in Texas. Um, and my wife and I got free tickets through my other friend to go to see the Ultimate Fighting. I'm a big fan of the UFC here in Las Vegas. So I go to the fight. I'm in the bathroom. I'm washing my hands, and I look behind me. I see the back of a guy that I recognized. So he got done doing what he was doing, and I realized it was really him. And I said, "Hey, what are you doing?" The guy lives in Austin. We're at an event with like 50,000 people, and he happens to be in the bathroom when I'm in the bathroom. He
Wow.
wasn't the specific guy I was thinking of talking about to my other friends the day before. But when I started talking to him, he's like, "Yeah, I'm here with Aaron." And Aaron's so, anyways, the guy I was talking about was there from Austin. It's just like because I was telling my friends they needed to connect with this guy, this Aaron guy. And the next day he was there. He lives in Austin, Texas. He's at the fight UFC. I run into him. The chances that, so these things happen for a reason
Yes.
if you allow it to happen, right? You have to open up the mindset. And I think that's what coaching has really done for me. My friend Eric, I referred him to my coach, right? And Eric never took action. And finally he says, I procrastinate a lot. And Eric's extremely successful. And he's like, he knows he needs coaching. And like I did an email, an email introduction, and I think he just went cold and never did it. And every time I talk to Eric, he's always curious about like, oh, what are you guys doing in coaching? And like, and I happened to tell him, oh, the other day I accidentally recorded through my Fathom. I recorded our coaching session, and then I was talking to my coach the other day, and I was like, yeah, Eric wanted to see it, and I have no problem showing him like my coaching. It's not like I'm an open book to. He's one of my best friends, he wants to see it. Like, it's funny how people are almost scared to get a coach because it's really, it's performance based, but it's also very therapeutic, right? That's
Yeah.
like the coaching journey. So I thought that was interesting how all this kind of ties together. And I think it all stems back from like opening the mind.
You're listening to the Investor Financing Podcast. We'll be right back after this break.
Hello, Beau Eckstein here, host of the Investor Financing Podcast. Are you a lender, real estate professional, or vendor that provides products or services within the real estate investing and business owner space? We are offering a few sponsorship opportunities to get in front of a highly targeted audience. If you're interested, please click the link below for further information. We look forward to talking with you. Thanks. Make it a great day. So, okay, you got the vacation going on. How did you you started helping people? You helped yourself through getting a coach and going through the journey, and then you realized that so many other entrepreneurs needed it, right? And so, walk me through like how Emerge was created, and then like who you're helping today.
This is great question. I never really planned on doing this. I have an 8-figure real estate company that does very, very well. I never planned on jumping over and starting to coach, but as I went through it, more people start going, "Man, you've changed. Can we go to lunch? Can we go to lunch?" And after the 5th guy at a Chipotle that is like crying and is, just opening up, I never had these type of vulnerable conversations before. It was always the day to day, like, "Oh, I'm just going to do this. This is what we're doing at this lunch meeting. We're going to talk about business." But I actually started getting real emotions and authenticity from people, and recognized that like my love for these people really increased as well. And that fills me. I've always been that way since a little kid. And so, yeah, that's where I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put together some resources and just give them to people. And, no one was really doing it. And it was kind of frustrating. And so I was like, all right, you know what? I'm just going to charge some money for these resources and see what happens. And before I knew it, it was that money in that exchange when people started to do things. In fact, one guy reached out to me and he's like, "Can we go to dinner?" And after 3 weeks of just doing some of these small micro challenges as we were designing this course, he was like, "My business is different." Like, he quit his job. He's doing personal training full time. And it was just amazing to see where he went in 3 weeks from not allowing himself to do it to now fully going in and being the happiest he's ever been. And his wife went to dinner with us and she's like, "He's a different person." And so after some feedback like that, I was like, all right, you know what? I'm just going to do it. Like, I can't sit here any longer. And, I started going to more masterminds and seeing people up there talking. And I was like, they talk it's such a surface level. They talk about waking up and taking an ice bath. Well, that doesn't work for everyone. And that doesn't work for me. I hate jumping in the cold. They talk about doing, an hour every day of meditation. I'm over there going, well, my business suffers for an hour while I'm trying to get my crap together. Like, there's a time and a place for this stuff. But no one was really getting raw and like actually legitimate with their story and how this helps. It's almost like they've heard Tony Robbins or, Grant Cardone say to do this and they just do it like sheep. And this is like, no, that we need to create a platform that actually helps people understand they are in control of their life. They're literally creators on this earth.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's part of the problem I dealt with in the past is like, I'm always like looking at social media and it gets you so freaking jaded because you're like, oh, all these entrepreneurs are doing this. And, half the people on social media are just fronting. They don't really have a lot, or right. It's all image. And I think that's jading everybody. Right. And then we get frustrated and we live in this kind of like, I think salespeople in general, it's like these highs and lows, highs and lows, highs and lows, highs and lows. And it's like, yeah, are we going to occasionally have a bad day? But like, I just realized that like, I need to do certain things every day that I have like, that give me energy, right? Like,
Right.
If I keep on doing something that I'm not super passionate about, I'm not going to have that energy. And I think that's kind of like, even for you, right? Like when you could probably be making more money just growing your real estate business, but like you're going to still have that. And I think what you freed yourself up to say, hey, I can still have this amazing real estate business, but I can do something I'm more passionate about and I can have more impact on many more people, right? Like,
Yeah.
And
It
so
makes
even if,
me happier, right?
yeah,
That's the key, right?
yeah. So even if you made less money, would you still do what you're doing, coaching? I believe you would, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think that really what it comes down to is the impact, right? And in the beginning, like any new business, right? You don't make that much money, and you're learning and you're making tweaks. And I kind of relate it to like Kobe Bryant. If you're a big basketball fan, I mean, like him or hate him, the guy airballed 3 shots in the playoffs in a row. They got eliminated from the playoffs, but then look what he became. And it's because there was a relentless pursuit of the fundamentals first, and then his game started to elevate into perfection. And so that's one of the things that I look at every single day is like, I'm in a relentless pursuit of the fundamentals of this business and understanding it. And sure, it may not come in the form of monetary, compensation here. However, I'm getting a lot more external compensation in different avenues. My love's increasing for my family. My wife's looking at me differently. I'm dropping weight. So I'm winning in other areas, and money is just a resource. So it's a matter of time after you've dedicated to the fundamentals of your craft.
So, do you still want to buy an island in Mexico?
Oh yeah. I'll have an island and a yacht here probably in about 2 years.
Cool. I love it.
Yeah.
My wife's actually from Mexico. So as I've spent more time in Mexico, I am definitely going to buy property in Mexico and spend a lot more time there. So I've been looking at places that I can drive from Vegas to quickly, so I don't have to fly. And I was thinking about Puerto Peñasco, which is, they call it Arizona's beach. It's like 3 hours from Phoenix.
Nice.
And yeah. So anyways, same vibe, doing that. And so, when you first meet with somebody, like, okay, let's just talk to the person that's out there right now and they're watching this when it's edited, of course, because we're not live.
Yeah.
And they're like resonating with this conversation and they're like, you know what, I do pretty good, but I'm not happy. And, it's like they always just do okay. They make that 150 grand a year where, hey, I make a decent living, but they're just not they're not really feeling good about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you start with these type of people? Like what's your framework to like kind of like unpack? Is it just usually just the initial conversation? How do you start walking people through these exercises to open their mind to like what they can accomplish and do with themselves?
Yeah. So I created a 5-day challenge for that very reason. And it's done online. So it's self-directed with a coaching call at the end to kind of talk about more of it. But what we do is I'm a very, very big proponent to all of your limiting beliefs have been accepted by you. And it goes from, and we can go to the science a little bit on this, but essentially from the ages of 6 to 9 years old, you start to gain your consciousness and you start to adapt values and different processes and systems in your life. And those processes and systems, generally, about 90% of them from the ages of 6 to 9 years old are who you are today, unless you've had trauma or different experiences where those values change over time. But like an example of that would be, I believed forever from the ages of 6 to 9 years old, at one point, I believed that you had to work more to make more money. And that's what I did. And that's also the same dichotomy my father had. And looking back, the reason why my father turned to drugs and like left his family is because he couldn't work anymore. He lost himself. And so naturally, 20 something years later, here I am. I'm not turning to drugs because I have that value of like drugs are bad, but I'm also deteriorating my family, the thing that was the most important to me. I made a promise to myself I wasn't going to lose it. So what we do is we go back to the mind, and all the limiting beliefs and the dichotomies that this person has accepted in this life. We change that through a simple meditative practice in the evening time. So I have them write down 25 characteristics of the man or woman they want to become. And then we go into 25 words that they want to be described as by other people. And what we do is we have them read it and record themselves, and they'll send it in. And we'll pick the frequency level based off of the mood and everything else that they want. We get very in-depth with the actual meditative track. And then we challenge them to listen to it every single night. And the reason why at nighttime is because your brain goes from a beta state of thinking into an alpha state at about 9 to 10 o'clock at night. And if you're listening to that track in that time, your brain is the most suggestible or open to suggestions and new thoughts. And you're actually starting to plug in new thoughts, new programs into your unconscious mind. And those new thoughts and programs, I mean, we have seen huge results. Like a small example, we did this with my 5-year-old little girl. And we said, okay, what do you want to do in gymnastics? Because she kept feeling like she was stuck. She couldn't progress. And so we labeled all the things she needed to do in order to get to the next level. She listened to it one night. And the next day, she started doing things. And what we found in this study is that it actually she gave herself permission. She knew she could do it all along, but she had this dichotomy that it was too hard for her. She was too young. All the other kids were older doing this. And so that eliminated the dichotomy in a single day. And before we knew it, she just completely upped her next game of her gymnastics class. Now, that's for a 5-year-old, but now imagine that for someone that is doing that in their business. I've been doing that for the last 60 days in my business, and I've changed my track up. And what I've seen from my business is it's gone from a certain amount of profit to now we've 4 times that profit. And there's no coincidence there, right? And in my meditative track, it says specifically, you're going to 4x your income by this time. And that's a characteristic. And so what we're doing is we're plugging in suggestible content through your own voice, the same voice that put all those limitations on you. We're actually plugging in suggestible content through your mind at night when you're sleeping. And then naturally, your brain just starts to operate in the background and create the resources. It's a different game.
So I usually listen to like educational stuff, like a podcast or something that I want to and I sometimes fall asleep listening to it.
Perfect.
But I like this about listening to myself. So is this in your 5-day challenge?
Yeah, this is in the 5-day challenge. We have a promo running on it right now. It's 50% off. So you can pick up the 5-day challenge for $47.
That's a freaking steal, people.
Yeah.
$47.
It's awesome.
I mean, just for that right there, I think just laying out the foundations, like, cause I haven't done that. That sounds amazing. Right. Cause, I think most of us don't understand why we think the way we think, why we have certain limiting beliefs. Like we just think are who we are, but there's like starting when we're, in the womb and developing as an individual, and then like your experiences as you're growing up, that all formed Beau to be Beau, right? And it's very difficult, the older you get without trying to like, change frequencies in your mind, you get kind of stuck, right? And so that's why we talk about midlife crisis and all this stuff. And like, I always am in search, you hear like Carol Dweck's book, Growth Mindset, all this stuff. It's true, right? Like you're either going to have if you don't have a growth mindset right now, you got to figure out how to get a growth mindset. Cause I think like that's what keeps me moving forward, is that curiosity, right? To improvement, and not just from a financial level. Obviously financial freedom is amazing because it allows you to buy an island in Mexico. It allows you to spend 2 months in Mexico, and it allows you to unplug. I think many of us, what I struggled with was to be able to unplug, right? Like I always think I have to sit at my desk and respond to people, because I've trained myself to be like very good at that. So like I'm disciplined. I'm gonna, okay, you need to close this, real estate deal. I'm like, but no, that's not how I should live my life. It's not making me happy. Then I was unpacking what does make me happy, right? And I love having this conversation with you. I mean, we could talk for hours. I'm not going to keep you here all day, but I think so. Jesse, do you have a podcast too? And also, where can people find your 5-day challenge for 50% off? $47, people. Yeah, I highly recommend you do it.
So I do have 2 podcasts. One's more focused on the marriage and the relationship aspects of how to improve, and coupled with business. My wife and I have been doing this, like I said, for 7 years. That one's called the Matrimonial Merger. And then I have another one that's all based on business called Mogul Mentality. And that is the same philosophy, same principles, but more geared towards business. And as far as finding me, you can find this 5-day challenge at theemergecoaching.com. And the promo code is emerge. And yeah, that's pretty much how you can find me. I've got a lot of different content on YouTube, social media as well. I try to stay relevant and help people understand themselves.
That's awesome. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I like not just to talk about business all the time. This, to me, is the biggest piece of business by far. Like, you have to understand yourself. You have to understand how you're wired. And the last few months that I've had a coach, I can tell you what, it's life changing. And you all need a coach. So for $47, 50% off on this program, I would highly recommend you do something that gets you outside of your comfort zone and you put yourself in a place where you're vulnerable and you're going to see the most growth. I can guarantee that if you apply yourself, you will see it. So go check Jesse out, check his podcast out. And Jesse, thank you so much for joining on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Beau. Amazing time. Appreciate it.
Hey guys, Beau Exian here. If you enjoyed what you saw, please subscribe to this channel. We talk all things financing. I've been in the lending industry for over 20 years, and I'm happy to answer your questions and provide great content.